everyone, all non-immigrants traveling to the United States have to have proof that they have been fully vaccinated from COVID-19. First thing, uh, it applies only to non-immigrants. So it doesn't apply to United States citizens. It doesn't apply to lawful permanent residents. It doesn't apply to US nationals. It doesn't apply to people traveling to the United States on immigrant visas. Apart from that, people who travel into the United States on immigrant visas, they have their own requirements that we need not to forget about. That after starting October 1st, everyone getting immigrant visa, they gotta have, as part of their medical exam, they need to have proof of COVID vaccination.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to the new rules that starting November 8th, there are some exceptions. Okay, to this list. I'll just go over them really fast. So it's people traveling on like diplomatic visa, NATO visas, um, who are visiting United Nations headquarters, children. And for children, CDC guidelines says that children under 18 years of age, they're gonna be exempt from this from those new rules. Um, Also, non-citizens who participated or participating in certain clinical COVID vaccine trials, those are exempt too. Um, if a person has some medical conditions preventing them from getting a COVID vaccine, you would not need to have that vaccine too. Um,
With regards to these exemptions, and it could get really nuanced, a lot, but uh,
yeah,
and then this one particular where a person can get the vaccine can be problematic because at the end of the day, you have to go to an airline and bring paperwork, and so there's always that hassle. It's not even U.S. Customs, but the airline not accepting something. So they
right.
have requirements that they're going to check the paper. For example, if you have a paper proof that you have a vaccine that has your date of birth on your name, they're getting strict on that. But one of the things that popped up, which is problematic, and I was trying to find the exact answer to this, and I went to one website and then sent me to another, sent me another. I couldn't find it. Is which vaccines are acceptable? Obviously, they've said that FDA approved ones are okay. There's a list by the WHO for I think it's emergency use vaccines or something like that. Oh, and I was trying to see the list. I couldn't find the exact list. There was a Korean one, there's a US one, obviously Pfizer and the like. But the big one is, for example, Sputnik from Russia, which Mexico said they're going to buy 10 million doses from, and all people from Eastern Europe and Iran and a lot of countries are using that one. That's not on the list yet, it seems, but they're researching and looking into it.
From what I know, currently, as of October, what's today? October 26th, yes, Sputnik is not on the list of the approved vaccines. We'll see how it's gonna work. I hope it's gonna be there very soon because a lot of people will not be able to travel to the United States who are vaccinated with Sputnik.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's again going back to exceptions. So there is this exception for people, for non-immigrants from these countries where the availability of COVID vaccines uh, is limited. There is a special list of these countries. Okay, and for example, around 40 or 50 countries are on this list currently as of today. And for example, from former USSR, it's just Armenia. So Armenia is on the list, and mostly it's like African countries. From what I remember, it's Somalia, South Sudan, and some other countries. And this list, CDC will update this list every 90 days.
So what I read on Reuters, and I was trying to skim from the government stuff, I didn't catch it until I read Reuters, but they say it's like 50 countries where the nationwide vaccine rate is less than 10%. This is like Nigeria, which is a huge country, Egypt, another large population country, Algeria, Armenia, Myanmar, Iraq, Nicaragua,
Right.
Senegal, Uganda, Libya, Ethiopia, Zambia, Congo, Kenya, Yemen, Haiti, Chad, and Madagascar. Those are included as more than that. But they say those receiving an exemption will generally need to be vaccinated within 60 days of arriving into the United States. This is from Reuters.com, where I read that specific thing. But So everyone's going to get affected by this. A lot of people overseas who don't want to get the vaccine, they can't get around it now. Whereas before, as long as you didn't visit one of those countries, you would have been fine and stuff. So it is a switch up. It's still going to hit people and affect them.
Right. And we need not to forget that test requirement is still there. So
Yeah.
it doesn't go anywhere. So everyone who is vaccinated, either American citizen or green card holders or non-immigrants traveling to the United States, they gotta have the test taken within 3 days of
Mhm.
departure. And for those who are unvaccinated, who, for example, fall under one of these exceptions,
Mhm.
or again, United States citizens who are not vaccinated, um, they can go back to the United States, but they need to have this test done within 1 day of
Yeah.
departure. And for some countries, it's a real challenge.
Yeah.
Three
That's
days is a real challenge, and I'm not even talking about 1 day. So it's
yeah.
going to be really, really hard to fulfill this requirement.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not vaccinated, essentially, come to the United States. You've seen how strict they are becoming on businesses here in government employees. That 1 day requirement is going to be really tough to try to match that up, and especially even in the U.S. Instead of like, let alone coming from other countries. It's just going to push everyone to just get one of the required vaccines. Now, um, this vaccine issue is not only for travel, as you mentioned earlier. Immigrant visas get affected. So if you are applying for a green card, either through the embassy, consular processing, or in the US, that after October 1st, you will need to have the vaccine unless there's an exemption or you get a waiver, which is not an easy thing to do. The waiver is super complex. Frankly, I think most of them are going to be denied because they're just being really strict about this and the requirements.